Many years ago, the great American psychic Edgar Cayce made a prediction about Egypt and Atlantean archives that were lost there. He said that in a vision he saw them at the base of the left hand of the Sphinx, or the left paw. And for many years I've thought about this prediction, and I've often felt that he wasn't quite accurate about that. That the actual truth of the matter is that the Sphinx points to something. The left paw points to something in the distance. Now you'll see a picture come up of the Sphinx on the screen, of it pointing. You'll be seeing it from behind. You'll see it pointing into the distance. I have been looking at maps of Egypt and studying the images around the Sphinx and why the Sphinx was chosen for the shape it is. And it dawned on me, it comes from the constellation Leo. Leo was the lion. And the Egyptians worshipped the lion. It was considered to be the most powerful of all the animals that they knew of. So when the Sphinx was actually built, and archaeologists are having a lot of disagreement over to the timeline, I believe it was actually built about 10 to 11,000 years ago, just prior to when Atlantis sank into the sea. It was built as a kind of a symbol to remind us that it is connected to something other than Egypt. Now, a lot of archaeologists have been looking at the layout of the actual Giza complex, the three pyramids. And they've noticed that the three pyramids are actually aligned exactly the same way as the three stars in Orion's belt, only you have to reverse them to see it. And therefore there's a tremendous connection between astrology and this complex. Now the Sphinx, if it was built much earlier, which I believe it was, why in the shape of a lion, or a lion-man combination? The lion wasn't endemic to Atlantis, but they must have appreciated it and valued it. But that isn't why they did it. It's because it points to something. Something that looks to them like a lion. And I've been perusing and looking over maps of Egypt for a long time, and I picked up this topographical map of Egypt, and I noticed something very strange. But then I kind of noticed these kind of things, and there where the Red Sea, right here, where the Red Sea joins Egypt, the westernmost finger, there's one over here and there's one over here, there's a shape that looks an awful lot like a horse, not a lion. But the horse was unfamiliar to the Egyptians. So when they built this complex, which will also come up on the screen so you can see it bigger, this is the Giza complex. These are the three pyramids that align with Orion. But why would the Sphinx be way down here and not have anything to do with Orion? It doesn't. I looked and looked and looked and trying to see if it had a correlation with Orion, and it does not. I think it's designed to tell us something, but we haven't noticed it. It's based on the design of the constellation Leo, which you'll see a bigger version of this come up on it. Now if you'll see this image, it actually looks more like a horse than it does a lion, but the horse was unfamiliar to the Egyptians at the time, and of course the Atlanteans as well. And this particular black dot is the star Regulus, and Regulus is a strange star, to say the least. But if you look at this topographical map again, the dot is where the Giza complex is. The arrow points to a place, an indentation in the topographical map, right about there, that looks an awful lot like where the heart would be. And if you look at this star map of Leo, this would be seen as the heart of the lion, but it's also the left leg. Go figure. So this Sphinx, shaped like a lion with a man's head, is designed to mean that man, us, is supposed to take note of where it's pointing. It's not an accident that it points directly east. It's not an accident that where it points to could be very important. Edgar Cayce may have been very right about one thing, that there is a lost archive. And I actually believe there were two of them, and one of them is in another country far north and to the east of Egypt. But that's going to be something we'll talk about in another video. What happened is Atlantis kept records on a material called orichalcum, a fired clay, very hard, very indestructible, and they coated these records in gold so that they would even be more permanent in case anything happened to the orichalcum. And I believe they created 2 sets of these and placed them in 2 different locations, and we are supposed to find these in time before 2012 hits. Whether we do this or not depends on how clever we are. But the Sphinx is not Khufu. It is a symbol and it points somewhere. In the next version of this video, part 2, I'll explain to where it points, what's there, how it was built, and what we should expect to find, and how we should expect to find it.